Today on Dean's N-Scale Trains, I'm going to show you how to put together this model of a 3-story building. It has apartments on the top and stores on the bottom. Okay, we're going to start by putting the back onto this mandrel. This is a PLA mandrel. Yours might be gray, it might be white. Make sure you have everything. We have our 2 prints. I like to use liquid nails. Comes in this nice little tube. You should line up 4 pieces of foam or cardboard that are cut slightly smaller than the 4 sides of the mandrel. Like I say, you can use foam, you can use cardboard, or even balsa wood works fine. So we start by scoring those, bending those on the score. You also need a spatula. I print mine out myself. You can buy metal spatulas. You should try to get one that's about the height, about 2 inches. It's easier when it's matching the height. But you can get these at any hardware store. They also might have plastic ones that are cheaper. So I think, lots of clothespins. I buy them. They're very cheap if you buy like a dozen or 2 dozen together. All right, we start by, we're going to put this one on the back. And it should fit exactly. So start by, you also need a lot of paper towels. I forgot about that. Clean up the edge. Incidentally, I use these rubber gloves. You don't have to, but this stuff doesn't really hurt your hands, but it's easier to see when you get glue on your gloves and you don't want to get it on the printed part. So we're ready to go. Here we go. Squirt out about the amount you think you'll need. And what you want is a nice even coat. You notice there's a little lip on the bottom. You want to try to keep it off that, but if you get a little bit on, it's not a problem. We'll take it off later. So you want an edge-to-edge coat, even. Take some paper towels and clean up that edge. Clean up your fingers if you got them there. Okay, my hands are clean, so I'll carefully pick this up. And slide it down so it hits that lip. and bring it around. Clean up the edges if necessary. Be very careful not to get it on. If you do, wipe it off and it should be okay. I just got a little bit there, but I wiped it off, so. Got a little bit on my fingers, so I have to be careful not to touch the part, not to touch the printed part. Squeeze it down and start your clamps, your clothespins. Okay, we want to slide this over, just kind of push it over to make sure the edges are straight. Okay, you want to leave this for a couple of hours. Let it dry. Set up. Put your cap back on. Clean up your spatula. Clean up the work surface. And we're done with that one. Okay, if you've done the first half, the next part should be simple. I took off the flat covers and we're ready for here, for the back piece. I'm sorry, the front piece. So again, put on some of the liquid nails. The only hard part is you've got to be careful you don't go around the corner there and get it on the back side. On the other hand, you got to make sure you go all the way to the edge. Check your hands. You can see a little bit of ooze out there. Make sure it's pushed all the way to the back. For this part, which can't be clamped, we'll just put a rubber band around that. Oops. Okay. Let that dry. Okay, moving right along. This is set up, and it looks really good on all the surfaces. So I think we did a good job on that. The edges here look fine. I went ahead and glued on the sidewalk. Just used the same old glue, the liquid nails and some clamps, and it's looking good. I'm going to trim this a little bit. So the next step is to put the roof on. Oh, by the way, these little things where it oozed, we can just get rid of those. So it looks really nice. The roof is relatively easy to put on. Before I put that on, I want to glue on the extra stuff. And I have here 2 air conditioning units, a tank, water tank, and double smokestack. So these you can put sort of anywhere you want. There's nothing sacred about it. And for that, I just use Elmer's. It's a little bit too thick. You don't want it to ooze out. So I'm going to center that. The other 3, I want to kind of line up. This is another this is one of the extra sidewalks. I probably should have held this down with clamps, but it's a little late now. The important thing is to get them lined up evenly and square. Oops, and my smokestack moved. Okay, we would just set that aside and let it dry. For the awnings, they come manufactured together. Just break them apart. You see there's a little lip there. I just cut those off. And then sand them with 200 grit sandpaper. That edge looked okay. Okay, to glue these, I made a little, it's just basically a straight edge. It's about 3/4 of an inch wide. And back to my Elmer's. You don't want to use a lot of this. My hands are not terribly steady, so that's why I like to use a spacer. You could make one just out of thick cardboard or whatever, balsa wood. Or if you have a steady hand, you want it lined up with the top of this darker area. Well, I messed that up terribly. That was a good idea that didn't quite work. Okay, we'll just set that aside to dry. Look dried, everything is nice and sturdy, and we're ready for final assembly, which is pretty straightforward. To put the roof on, again, I'm using Elmer's or white glue. Just run a bead of cement, of glue. And take this and just set it in. Now there's a little bit of slop in the measurement here, in the dimensions. So you want to make sure it's even on all sides. We've got a little bit of ooze. I can't turn it so you can see it, but it's over here. Just going to wipe that off. Even it up, and we're done.